Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Encore. What is the Encore, you're asking? This is a show where we're going to talk about more global releases, maybe things not related to music. We want to make sure that the podcast is still at heart about Ontario music. So when we want to talk about stuff like that, you're going to find that in the Encore.
The show after the show.
But me and Phil both decided to check out the new Fall Out Boy record. So much for Stardust. This is actually their eighth record. This is them not with a major label. It's them, I guess, as independently as they can be. Fall Out Boy was kind of like a pivotal band for me growing up, particularly a big fan of Infinity on High.
Yeah, that record's amazing.
This isn't like a well thought out review. We're just kind of riffing here. So, I don't know what to tell you. This is what we think of Fall Out Boy now. So what'd you think of, let's say, the first two tracks, because those were actually singles before the album came out.
Yeah, what I thought was refreshing. I thought, first of all, this release was one of the best releases that I've heard from Fall Out Boy since their hiatus that happened earlier in their career. I haven't been a big fan of pretty much any of the releases ever since. I have checked them out here or there, but I actually don't think I've given an album a full listen since you mentioned it, since Infinity on High. Love from the Other Side. It was good to hear that there were drums and that there was guitar going on again in Fall Out Boy, which actually made me excited again. Was there anything that actually kind of stuck out for any of these tracks specifically for me? Not necessarily. I don't think I have this issue, and it might just I think it's me. The problem is I have always liked, and it's hard to not talk about Fall Out Boy without mentioning this band. But I've always been a bigger Panic at the Disco
fan.
Obviously, there are two different bands with two different careers, but they came up at the same time. I think Brennan Urie was also signed to Fueled by Ramen. So, like, there's all these parallels that happen with them. And I even was a huge fan of a lot of the Brennan Urie stuff, like when they lost, he just went on solo. I ended up yeah, like Brennan Urie is a huge influence. So like my wife loves Brennan and like we've used the songs for the wedding. We've seen him live a couple times. Rest in peace. They're not a band anymore. So it was hard for me to get into this record being like, they sound so much alike, but I liked that newer sound from Panic. And so that's what really kind of I was having trouble with. However, there were some songs on this record that broke me through.
The first one, I think I just genuinely enjoyed. I think it just sounded like a Fall Out Boy song.
Yeah.
Again, it was nice to hear like actual drums and it felt theatrical, but not like the first song. It felt theatrical, but not like in an overbearing way.
Right.
It's like it's just I wrote a bit corny. You know what I mean? Yeah. So those first two songs, not too bad. I didn't think I was going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to be spinning this all the time. And again, this came out at the same time as a very important album. So it's not like this, I was expecting this to live in my head too much, but I had a good feeling about the album. And then when it got to Hold Me Like a Grudge, I thought the guitar work was amazing. I think the production sounds incredible. The slinky guitars in that song, it's glistening. It's really nice. Again, the Hold Me Like a Grudge thing is a little corny, but I mean, they're a corny band. So
yeah, exactly. I really like this song for the same reason. It was also Hold Me Like a Grudge, another very, Fall Out Boy type lyric, tongue in cheek, always playing with the wordplay. Yeah, loved the guitar work as well, which is something that, like, Joe in the band, he's a phenomenal guitarist. And that's why I think I've been so disappointed with so many of their past releases, because they haven't necessarily utilized him to the best of his ability. Because he's a fan, like I said, like I'm sure you're familiar with the band Damn Things. He crushes on those songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Hold Me Like a Grudge came around, again, I was feeling positive about this record, and it did make me feel like, I could recommend this record to somebody who maybe necessarily has been in the same position that I'm in, where they haven't necessarily been impressed with the band for the last 10 years or so.
Fake Out is probably my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
Again, I wrote the less electronics, the better.
Yeah.
And I think Fake Out is probably the best for that. I don't know how you felt, but then we hit Heaven, Iowa, and it just got so theater kid.
Yeah, it did.
Now, I really like the guitar solo. It gave me that, like, do you remember the Avenged Sevenfold song, I Won't See You Tonight?
Yes,
And it's
yes.
just like, it sounds like the guitar is just crying.
Yeah.
Like, I like that, but like, it was like, it got me thinking about emo and the early 2000s in general, and how Fall Out Boy attracted this audience of punk kids with like their first two releases, and then everything else was made for theater kids, and I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Fall Out Boy had this crazy reputation when they came up. They had it in with like straight edge gangs that existed. I
Yeah.
believe and they had this like level of respect.
The next song is, what is that abbreviation?
So
So
good
good
right now.
I fucking hate this song. The Thurston Harris little bitty pretty one interpolation is awful. I don't understand why you would do that.
We were talking about, again, it's hard not to bring up this band. It reminded me of that latest Panic on the record, disco record, which I want to go on the record to say was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
We could get into that for another day, why that happens.
Yeah.
But it felt like they were like, oh, Panic at the Disco could do it. Let's do it. And like, yeah, it just didn't land for me.
To be fair, to our boy Brandon Urie, I guess, to contextualize him a bit, like, he literally did theater before making his newest album, though. So
that's right. He
like,
was also a church kid too.
He is a theater kid. He just like some kids who played guitar grabbed him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the next track is The Pink Seashell. With
okay. So I wrote The Pink Seashell is really stupid. It's up its own ass, and I hate it.
7 tracks in. Why are we doing this?
It's like Ethan Hawke mumbling.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It feels so pretentious.
And like I said, why are we doing this the 7th track into this record? If it was the 3rd track in, the 2nd track to maybe like, I don't know, because there's another track that happens in this record that's very similar to it. That's only the Baby Annihilation.
Oh boy. Why the fuck do they do this? Unbearable Pete Wentz poetry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I guess they couldn't get Ethan Hawke for both tracks, so they only got him for that. The track after The Pink Seashell, however, I Am My Own Muse. This was my favorite track off the record.
See, for me, it sounded like Tim Burton core.
Yeah,
I wrote Sweeney Todd core.
Actually, what I got out of this song the most was No Leaf Clover by Metallica off the S&M record, where they had like the whole orchestra. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but it's like, it feels like they heard that track and were like, we need to make a very similar song. And then I can only imagine with the technology we have nowadays, they didn't have the fucking symphony that fucking Metallica has. They obviously just like Pro Tools it or something like that. But I was like, this reminds me of a Metallica song off that record. And that's why I really enjoyed it. I can see how you got, like, because it is got the whole orchestra kind of thing going on. I could see how, because of that, someone like, the Tim Burton core, I see where you're coming from.
It's the singing too. Don't get me wrong. There's something about the inflection of the singing too. It just sounds very like musical, like musical theater. I'm not a fan of Flu Game very much.
No, Flu Game wasn't really anything for me either.
It's the type of song that makes you want to put a feather in your hat.
What kind of hat?
A fedora, of course.
Yeah, of course.
What are we talking about? What are you kidding? A big one. Not even a fedora proper. Like, you know how like they'll be like, excuse me, that's not a fedora. This is, and they like tell you the name of that hat. It's that hat.
Lovely.
It's a hat that gets mistaken for a fedora.
I thought we can move right along because was it the Kintsugi Kid? I don't know if I Kintsugi.
It's a cool song.
Yeah. Kintsugi Kid. Strange title.
Song seemed fine. What a Time to Be Alive. Again, cool song. It's very neo disco feeling.
Yeah.
It has like that like nice bounciness to it. The lyrics again are just kind of corny, but obviously like we haven't said the words yet, but Mania was just like Bad. That was a really bad record. So
Mania was really bad. Actually, I completely forgot about that
yeah.
record. I actually really enjoyed What a Time to Be Alive. I thought that was a I enjoyed that, and I actually thought that was the end of the record. I was ready to like call it a day, and then they put on this So Much for the Stardust, and then yeah, like I think it was such a snoozer that I had me thinking about something else. There were moments that I really liked it. It got me excited about Fall Out Boy again. I mean, they've grown so much from when they were from Under the Cork Tree, Infinity on High. Like they're not the same band that they once were. They're selling out arenas. With Andy and Joe doing other projects like Race Trader, the Damn Things. What's that power ballad violence band that Andy's in? Sect. You can tell that Andy's in it for the music in that sense, and he obviously just collects his paycheck from Fall Out Boy, which is totally respectable, because if you have someone who's playing arenas one night and then playing the Doors the next night in Hamilton, you got to respect that kind of humbleness.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I would probably give this record 6.5 out of 10. I don't know about you. It got me excited again. Most of the songs ran together. I hated those speaking parts in the song.
Speaking parts are brutal.
I definitely could have gone without them, but like I haven't been stoked on them for a while. So I got to give them a little bit of credit. I'm hopefully they're on an upward trajectory.
After first review, I gave it a 5 out of 10. For me, it's really tough to like condense something like things like that down to a number. You know what I mean? I think that's why I wanted to like talk about it track to track.
Sure.
And our idea to talk about this album track to track came before both of us listened to it. So I think Fall Out Boy is just music for theater kids, and I think that it's hard to accept that. I think we could do a whole video on just like theater kid core, and it's like the punk scene and the theater kids came together, and it all got just called emo.
Yeah.
And it made everyone angry because none of those people identified as like emo. So I'm sorry, Fall Off Boy. Yeah, that's right. I said it. I'm coming for your ass. I'm coming for your bitch ass. You can't escape these bullets. I shouldn't say that. You can't escape me. Did I look hard?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. That means so much to me. I put Owl City's Cocoa Moon on here. Did you listen to any of it?
No, I did not listen to this record.
Owl City sounded so much like the Postal Service.
Yeah.
Because it's ripping it off so much.
I thought Owl City when they came out were very much like a poor man's Never Shout Never.
That's a good way of putting it too, especially before Never Shout Never started doing their like hippie stuff.
Yeah,
I
think that guy got canceled.
I'm sorry, buddy, but word around town is you canceled, buddy.
We know you're watching.
I think this album just sounds really out of date in the current landscape. I think that the existence of hyperpop makes Owl City just seem so boring.
Yeah.
I give this 1 Gec out of 100. That's right, you bitch ass. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I can't be stopped. An album we both loved, apparently. I had no clue, but we love 10,000 Gecs.
Yeah, this was a great record. This was the first time I'd actually listened to this band. I threw them on my way to work. Track by track, it honestly just kept. It reminded me of my band Hellbent, in the sense that if you do something that you love, do something that you have fun with, you're gonna have a following no matter what, because it's genuine and honest. That's what I got from this record. Yeah, I got my tooth removed with such a fun ska song, the frog on the floor song. Like, I loved these dumb tracks, and I'm just such a fan of that. And I love when a band can take a risk like that and be like, listen, like, music is supposed to be fun. Like, we're not supposed to. And almost like the whole record, I had such a fun time with them. And then I went back and I listened to some of their old stuff. This new record is very different from their old stuff. So I don't know if the old fans are going to like this new stuff. I'm hoping that there's just going to be like this new wave of ska that's going to come out, because kids have never really jammed ska. Hopefully next thing you know, like Bouncing Souls will be back, and friggin' like, what are some of the Planet Smashers and whatnot? It's
so interesting that you so specifically pick up on the ska elements, because Obviously, especially on the song Tooth Removed, which it sounds like a straight up like Nickelodeon, like kids theme song. Like they're really good at like staying on a topic, whereas I feel like a lot of vocalists, we typically get away with just like kind of waxing poetically about whatever and letting people fill in the gaps, whereas a song like I Got My Tooth Removed is about getting your tooth removed, like. And then getting into Gecs too, I like a song like The Most Wanted Person in the United States, with just like the amount of like sounds going off in the background, that just boing noises, and like it's like this, it's like a parody of rap. It sounds like something that like, it sounds like a John LeJoie song. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a John LeJoie song. Like it really blows my mind. Billy Knows Jamie is like Limp Bizkit core,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
like a just scary sounding breakdown at the end. It's like trebly. It's hard to explain. It's like heavy, but it's because it's so like it's pitched weird. They're a really interesting band. Doritos and Fritos is a super cool song.
Yeah, it's like this is like this music, I feel like they can appeal to, like you mentioned Nickelodeon. They can appeal to children, these songs.
100%.
And like the next thing you know, Doritos and Fritos are going to be flying off the shelf more so than they ever have.
Yeah, it's again, and their first record, they were the type of band that I wanted to like, because I felt like everyone liked this new, experimental album, and I'm like, new experimental album, and then I went and I just couldn't do it. And then I heard Doritos and Fritos way before this album came out, and I was like, oh, I really like this. This is like more like a glitchy sort of punk. It kind of reminded me of the Hives almost, like the carefree sort of nature of it. The guitar sounds like weird. You know what I mean? Like it's this weird type of blocky distortion. I don't know. And I thought it was going to be a one-off. And then this album came out and I decided to give it a spin, and I liked every single song. Like Hollywood Baby is so catchy. It's their hyper pop sound, but in a way that I enjoy. So yeah, I think it's an absolutely amazing record. I'd love to see. It's interesting because I don't know much about hyper pop in general, but I don't think this is like a hyper pop album. I think this is just like a weird punk album. It reminds like a super fast Viagra Boys, or like, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, I would, if I were to rate it out of 10, I would probably give it an 8.
No, it's really good though. I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 9. Probably an 8 out of 10 too.
All right, let's stop this.